Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Our text says, "Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you." This is a song or a poem of David when he was captured in Gath. When I was preparing for this sermon, I first thought of the text that we have that we usually refer to in our quarterly. Be strong and of good courage. Because I was thinking of talking about discouragement. But I was not sure whether it was the right thing to talk about. Wednesday this week, I plan to call our elder and see whether he has a topic for me that I can speak about. But fortunately, I did not, because this morning, I am sure it is the right topic. Why? The Sabbath school thought was all about the solution of the problem. It was a few minutes. It was covered in a few minutes. And in my sermon, I will mention it only in one sentence. Mission story, talked about it. In our lesson study, it was emphasized that discouragement caused the whole nation to suffer 40 years more instead of not one of those 40 years. So, it's really discouragement that we need to be considering this morning. Now, when I was looking into discouragement, I found a few words that are related, interrelated very closely with discouragement. The first one is fear. Fear often is the reason for discouragement. It is the root of discouragement. In the experience of the children of Israel, they feared the people in the land, and so they became discouraged. Another word is, of course, discouragement, which is the result of fear. Discouragement, when dealt on for more times, becomes despondency. It's worse than fear, nor discouragement. Despondency, on the other hand, will finally result in despair. If that stays for a long time, we have depression. Number one and number two, fear and discouragement, we can safely work on with the help of God. because these two are things that happen in normal life. David said, "Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you." He was afraid. The good thing is, he knows what to do when he is afraid. I will trust in you. Now, he's speaking to God, right? So, that trust kept David. Was he perfect? No. But he kept him so that God can say about him, he is a man of mine own heart. Despondency, despair, and depression are things that are quite complicated. And in my reading, I always find the counsel to seek professional help if ever this is noticed in someone whom you are talking with or in your own life. They say ask for professional help. I would say avoid skeptics and atheists because they will rule out God in their advice. So yes, ask for professional help, but avoid skeptics and atheists when you look for help, because you might find help that is not really helping. Now, before you go to those professionals, we remember what has been mentioned in Sabbath school, those many things that have been mentioned. Ask for God's help and you will be able to continue. Okay, fear. Fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the threat of danger, pain, or harm. The threat, it's not yet there. Okay? So we fear because of something that is not yet here. Sometimes we have fear also of the thing that is already there. I will not rule that out. But most of the time, our fear is because of something that is not yet there. Many times, they don't come. Right? Now, I have an experience with fear, and it was very terrible. We say it is all right to be afraid. As long as you will be like David. Why is it all right to be afraid? Because that fear can tell you that you need to prepare. You are planning to have a job interview. Are you sure you will get the job? Many times not. And because you are not sure you will get the job, you will prepare. Read about the company. Prepare yourself. Look into yourself about which to emphasize so that you can convince them that you are the person for the job. Another one is fear reminds you that you might need help. A person preparing for an examination will know he will need past lessons that have been taught, notes, read books, and if you need more, you look for a tutor, maybe a classmate, maybe a special tutor for that, so that you will be able to do good in the examination. Now, whatever our fear is, there is an advantage of having God as the first one that we trust. He will help us when we go through the preparation, and most important thing, He will help us when we are going through the test. He will be there with us. So we must take God first as our source of help. Now, when was I most afraid? I was an auditor in Northeastern Mindanao Mission, 28 years old then. One day, I was called by the president, and he told me, Moses, we have a church treasurer who refused to remit the tithes and offerings for 9 months now. And he has threatened he will shoot the person who will come to collect the tithes and offerings. Person's name, Stewardship Director, District Pastor. But there is that blanket statement. And so, we want you to go with the district pastor when he goes home next week. Because there was a workers' meeting that was to be held on the following week. And so started the time of trouble for me. It's a threat. You might say he won't do that. But it's possible that he will. And so I had to pray. I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. The day came when workers' meeting was over and we had to go. So we boarded the bus and went to Bunawan, the town that was closest to the road. In fact, the road was just by the river because we have to board a boat to go to that remote place where the church was. And so we went down to the boat. It was, what do you call this? Oversized canoe. A canoe that can hold about 40 to 50 people. And so we went downstream 1.5 hours until we got to the junction of the bigger river, which we took and we went upstream. There was one interesting thing that struck me on this trip. we saw a house. It was built on two huge logs, maybe flat on the ground, it's up to here. Very huge logs. So the house was on those two logs, and it was tethered to a big stump with two steel cables that were bigger than my thumb. And so I got interested. They saw my face, and so the district pastor said, "Oh, they put it there so that when the water comes, the house will float, because this place is underwater at least 2 months every year. Sometimes it can go 4 months." Is it for this one? Okay, please keep this one off. Because I'll be coughing if that fan will blow air into my back. So I'd appreciate it if it is off. Yeah, that's okay. Now, it was interesting to me. Somebody chooses to live in a place that will be underwater for at least 2 months every year. At least that took my mind away from my problem for a few minutes or maybe hours. We traveled 6.5 hours, and we reached the town where the district pastor stays. Next day, we rode on a motorcycle, crossed 2 rivers, because the roads were useless. They were logging roads that were not maintained anymore because the logging companies stopped operations. Crossed 2 rivers, 200 meters from the house of the treasurer, the pastor dropped me and he said, "I will go to the house of the elder." And so he dropped me, and so I walked, knocked at the door. He came out, and so I shook his hand and said, "I am the mission auditor." Face changed a bit. And I said, "I came to look into your books." And so he seated me, went to the room. I heard drawers opening and closing. And in my mind, I was saying, "Is this it?" Still praying. He came out and he had a church book, remittance voucher, receipts. I was relieved, and I thanked God that he did not go for his gun. So I audited his. Oh, he gave me the books, and then he sat down and cried. When you want to do something and you are not able to do it, you cry, don't you? That happened to me a few times. You really wanted to do something, but something just kept you from doing it. And so that told me he might really have been bent on doing what he threatened, but he was kept from doing it. And so I finished the work. I went to the elder's house and we went home. I was happy. Now, I prayed a lot, yes, and my prayer was positively answered. Do we always get a positive answer to our prayers? Unfortunately, no. When we fail, what do we do? When what we prayed for does not come, we fail in that aspect. The positive thing to do is try again. Okay? That's a positive result of discouragement. You get discouraged, you have a positive attitude, you try again. How about, I have a story related to that, and it's found in our lesson. A young man, a Korean, studied in the Philippines. He was not an Adventist, but he was invited by friends to be with them in inviting people to an evangelistic meeting. They went to some houses, people were interested, got the flyers, and said, "We may come." One door opened, invitation given, and the door was closed. Kim, the student, said, "Why was he very rude?" So they continued visiting houses. But the next day, Kim said, "Let's go back to that house." And so they went back. When they opened the door, or when the door was opened, the man apologized. He said, "I am very sorry for what I did yesterday." And then they talked, and then he said, "Yes, I will come to your meeting." And eventually, he got baptized. And Kim, who was not an Adventist, also became an Adventist. And he is now a leader of the 1,000 missionary movement that is based in Silang, Cavite, Philippines. So, discouragement, try again. It's important to try again. Somebody slammed the door against you. The next day you come and he apologizes. That's the good thing. But sometimes it does not happen that way. So we must be ready for those times when it does not happen that way. So when we get discouraged, the positive aspect is if you are positive in your mind, you find ways of solving the problem and you try again. Or you don't try again that way, you try again this way. In the end, they are the same objective. So, yes, discouragement can be positive. The negative one is when we wallow in the failure and become despondent and be in despair. Now, Ellen White has this to say: some look always at the objectionable and discouraging features, and therefore discouragement overtakes them. They forget that the heavenly universe is awaiting to make them agencies of blessing to the world, and that the Lord Jesus is never failing storehouse from which human beings may draw strength and courage. There is no need for despondency or apprehension. The time will never come when the shadow of Satan will not be cast athwart our pathway. Satan will always be there. So don't be discouraged if he is there, because he will always be there. Thus, the enemy seeks to hide the shining light from the Sun of Righteousness. But our faith should pierce this shadow. So, many times when we are discouraged, we forget that. But let us be reminded that Jesus is always our source of strength. So, we ask help from God. Believe He will help and take small, actionable steps. They have been mentioned in Sabbath school this morning. Many of them. Okay? Be sure they are actionable. Small steps, small deeds. But it's possible for you to do them. The more of the small deeds, many steps become the journey. Right? And the more of these small steps that we take, we can be ready to take bolder steps. Start with the simple deeds of kindness that we can do to our neighbors. The more we do of that, we will become stronger and we can take the more bolder steps. Somebody might be like me, very shy, could hardly speak to a stranger. I'd be very comfortable sitting for hours beside someone without talking. And that's my problem. That's why I know I need help. I need to take that small step. Now, despair does not always come from failure. Do you know of something, one that went into despair with not because of failure? In fact, the one that I thought of is somebody who had a tremendous success, very successful. The next moment, he was down in the depth of despair. Elijah. What did he do? He spent a day, the whole day, trying to get the people to watch Baal priests do their thing. And then he spent much time preparing the altar. So much work for the day. After that, he ran about 40 kilometers in front of Ahab's horse. In fact, the first time I looked for the distance, Google Maps said it is 70 kilometers. But I read somewhere and they say it is between 39 and 50 kilometers. So I say 40. Ran 40 kilometers. Oh, I would get very tired. After a stressful day, run 40 kilometers, I will be very tired if I were him. Then comes the message, Jezebel will kill you. And off he went. Traveled about 150 to 200 kilometers, where he left his helper and traveled another day until he got so tired he lay himself under a broom tree and slept. From height of success to depth of despair. Why do I say despair? Am I right when I say he was in despair? He said, I am no better than my forefathers. He prayed that he might die. That is despair. Because despondency is believing that further action is useless. It's the action that is useless. Despair is, I am useless. So, from heights of success to depths of despair, that can happen. And what did God do? How did God solve Elijah's problem? You know what happened to him? He was taken to heaven. Did God tell him, oh Elijah, I will take you to heaven in a few months? Did God say that? No. What did God say? Go. Anoint Hazael as king of Syria. You anoint Jehu as king of Israel. And the hint, anoint Elisha as your replacement. It's just a hint. He did not say, I am taking you to heaven, prepare Elisha. He did not say that. How did God solve the problem? Simple, actionable steps. Something that Elijah can do. And so where is despair? He went. Despair gone. Because he has a simple step to accomplish. Simple, actionable step. That's how to get out of despair. Now, why did he get down into despair from height of success? When you are very busy, you gain extra strength, right? You are very inspired of something you are doing, you forget about sleep. You forget about eating. Why? Adrenaline. Adrenaline kicks in and you are invincible. You can run ahead of the horse for 40 kilometers. But when adrenaline goes, spirit flops. So, shall we overwork ourselves? Is that not an advice for us not to overwork? It is. Because working too much is not good for the body. So, I'm not faulting Elijah for doing what he did. It is just unfortunate that when he heard about the death threat, he flipped and fell into despair. Now there is another despair which does not result from failure, not even one's neglect, and not even one's fault. You know that? Job. Job 1:21, the Lord gave and the Lord has taken away. Very strong faith. Job 3:3, may the day of my birth perish. Despair. Job was in deep despair. And yet, Job 13:15, though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. Still strong faith. So that is the secret. We may go to visit a professional. We may ask God for help. He promised to help us. If we have that faith that Elijah had, the faith that Job had, the faith that David had, we will survive. In summary, God has asked us to show His love for the world as we preach the gospel to all the world. He has asked us to show His love. Satan throws anything at us. Remember, according to the quote, there's never a time when the shadow of Satan will not be across your path. It will always be there. He will throw anything at us. One, encourage, entice us to do something that God does not want us to do. Direct rebellion against God. If he gets his way, he succeeds. He is happy. If he does not get his way, will he stop? If he can not make you do something wrong, will he stop? No. He will give you fear, discouragement, despondency, despair, just so you will do nothing. I do nothing, and he is happy. And that's one thing that makes me sad, because many times I find myself not doing enough, or maybe not doing anything to get somebody else to know God. But don't be discouraged if you share that problem with me, because God has promised. He wants you to take simple, actionable steps. Simple acts of kindness that we can do to our neighbor, do to somebody with us in the house, do to somebody we meet when we go shopping. Those contacts that we make, we are able to show God's love to others. And in doing so, we have done what God wants us to do. So, again, you can do something through Jesus in the simple acts of kindness, which we do at the moment it is needed. Simply ask God for help. Believe he will help you, and then take the step.